My name is Saul Castillo. I was born in Galveston, Texas, grew up in Freeport, Texas. I was born November the 8th, 1981. I was pretty much raised in Freeport majority of my life. I grew up with my great grandmother and my father. My mom and my dad separated when I was probably like 4 years old, something like that, around that time. And then I had ended up moving in. My dad had got a job out of town, so we had left to go stay out of town when I was a kid, so I don't remember too much. And then we ended up going back to Freeport, which that's where I grew up with my great grandmother. So basically, my great grandmother raised me all the way until she got real sick, and then I just kind of just took my own path. Basically, like I took my own path, like 11, 12 years old. Just got the environment I was involved in was people doing drugs, drinking alcohol. So I didn't really have no supervision growing up. I basically could do what I wanted to do. So that's how I ended up getting involved in things that took me down a whole nother path. Like, for example, I'll give you examples. Like, I started hustling, selling drugs at a real young age. And as a kid, you see $400 or $500, you're like, well, you like, I can make this money, I can make this type of money at this young of an age. So you just kind of get intrigued by that, and then you start adapting that kind of lifestyle, because that's, you don't have much. So you start going into that path, because I always had a love for football. I played football and baseball when I was a young boy for a little while, but then the streets just took over, that influence took over me, and I just went that way. And then I ended up getting involved in the gang life, street life, and then ended up getting caught up in a situation where I had to go to TYC because of some gang stuff, some shootings.
Where'd you go to school at?
I went to school, Velasco Elementary in Freeport.
And intermediate and high school?
Intermediate was Freeport Intermediate, but basically intermediate I didn't really go to school that much either. I only went to 6th grade, some of 7th grade, and then I was going to juvenile for not going to school for truancy. So I didn't even finish 8th grade because I didn't even get to make it to 8th grade. Because I went to TYC, which is a state school in Texas. It's like a facility for juveniles, that like a baby prison type thing. So I was in TYC from 13 to 18, which I went there 3 separate times. Yeah, so when I got out of TYC, since I had been to TYC 3 times, they felt like I was a menace to society, so I wasn't able to get released home. So I had to go stay with a mentor home, which was a family, and I ended up meeting my mentor, Miss Charlene, and I lived with her for about a year. Until I was able to say that the system thought I was ready for the world. I was ready for society. So that's when I ended up getting released from her home. I was probably like going on 18 years old around that time.
What'd you do to go to TYC?
I went to TYC for, my charges were 2 deadly conducts, 8 aggravated assaults, and organized crime, which was a shooting. Basically, we had got into some shootings with some rival gang members, and the first shooting was some guys were shooting at us, and then that happened. But then later on that night, we ended up shooting at some innocent people because we thought they were the wrong people. And yes, we shot at some innocent people. And so that's what I got 8 aggravated assaults, because it was 8 people in the car. And
how old were you then?
I was 13 years old.
And after that, what happened?
After that, I went to TYC. I had got a 15-month sentence. And when I went to TYC, I came home, I got released. But as soon as I got released from TYC, I jumped right back into the streets thinking, I had them dope boy dreams, thinking I was going to get rich off hustling.
You didn't go back to school?
I didn't go. I went to school for probably 2 weeks. And I said, forget school. And back then, that's when we had pagers and stuff. I had my pager, and I was making deals, hustling, and so I went back to making the fast money. And then I just I was on parole for TYC parole for like 9 months, but then I just kind of went on my own until I caught another charge, which was another drug charge. Like it was me and a friend of mine, an old friend of mine. We had a house. I was like 15 years old at the time. We had a house and we had sold some drugs to somebody that was working with an undercover, and they kicked in the door. And then I caught another charge, which was a possession charge of controlled substance with intent to deliver. And then that sent me back to TYC around the age of 15.
So did you graduate when you got out of TYC?
Well, I had ended up getting my GED in TYC, and there, they have the different school systems set up. So I had got my GED when I was 16, while I was incarcerated.
And what did you do after when you got out?
But when I had got out, it's interesting because I had got out. I had did 9 months. I got out for 2 weeks, and then I went right back because I didn't learn my lesson. I went to doing the same thing, and I was only out of jail for 2 weeks, and I went right back to TYC. And then that's when I did a year sentence, and then that's when they had they felt like I wasn't ready to go back home, and that's when they sent me to a mentor home with my mentor.
This was in Freeport still?
Nah, my mentor had a house in LaPorte, Texas. Yeah, she had a house in LaPorte, Texas. Miss Charlene was her name. Miss Charlene and Mr. J. She basically was a big mentor and a big role model into who I am today, because she taught me a lot and helped me learn a lot of things, even though I didn't learn my lesson. But yeah, she played a big role in my life. Rest in peace to her. She was a real mentor for real.
And after that, you still continued the street life?
Yes, after that, I got released from her home, went home, back to Freeport. It was around 99, the year 2000. And yes, I got home, living with my dad here and there. And yeah, I just basically went head first, thinking I was going to be a dope boy forever, thinking I was going to get rich off hustling and doing all that. I had like a pretty long run doing that living that lifestyle.
So you was driving around, you had a car, you was going to Houston and all that?
Yes, around 2000, I was going to Houston, going to the screw shop and, screw tapes and just living the fast life. Back then, they used to have a thing called cornbreads, was on the drugs real bad, sipping lean, syrup, smoking dro every day, just hustling, making fast money, living the fast life. And it had become an addiction. And it's interesting because I've been addicted to that lifestyle since I was like 12. So it was a long addiction. So yeah, I did that for a long time. And I also had a love for music too, the rap scene and stuff like that.
What got you into music?
Music, just growing up, listening to music was always, not having no supervision in your life. I think music, you're always looking for something that you could connect with. And music was, like Tupac, my favorite rapper. Tupac, you listen to all these music, you kind of learn it through the music. You learn it through the music, you get inspired through the music. So music was just something I always wanted to do. So back then when I was in TYC, was like, I used to always freestyle to myself, listen to all these different rappers and stuff. And then I just started freestyling in TYC. And then when I got out, I had these dreams to want to rap, right? Want to rap and do music. So I would just freestyle with the homies, freestyle at the house and just rap, just do stuff like that,
Put a record out?
Yeah, I had ended up and I had did a couple of studio sessions with a friend of mine named Black, and that was the first time I ever been in the studio, like actually recording in the studio. So I had did that with him a couple of times, a couple other people. And then in 2007 is when an old friend of mine had I had told him I had went and got me a Pro Tools set up. I got a Pro Tools set up, then linked up with friends, and then we had ended up starting a group called Go Get a Fam.
And around what year was that?
That was around 2007.
Still in Freeport?
Yeah, I was back. I was still in Freeport. Created that. We had ended up hooking up with Balasso was my old friend, and then he had introduced me to Filetto, and then we had did a song called Freeport My Home, which is that was a song that kind of caught a little buzz at the hometown, small town, got a little buzz, got something going, and yeah, I had dreams and aspirations to make the music work, but I was still 1 foot in the streets and 1 foot out, and I was giving more time into the streets than the music.
And what happened after the music thing?
With music, I had moved to Houston. I was doing the music. I was doing that, but I was seeing more money from the streets than the music. So I had ended up catching a charge. I had caught another charge around 2009 in Houston for a possession charge, controlled substance. Had some work on me with some cocaine and some drink, which is some lean. Yeah, then so I had ended up signing for probation. So that was around 2009. I signed for 5 years probation, and then during the time of probation, I had caught another charge during that time, which violated my probation. So I ended up paying my lawyer, and then that's when I had signed for 2 years, and then I got a 2-year sentence and I did 11 months on a 2-year sentence.
You went to TDC?
Yes, I went to TDC. I had went to Holiday Unit. I had signed for my time out of Harris County, and then I had went to Holiday for 2 years. But I did 11 months on that 2-year sentence and got released on parole.
You only been in prison once?
Twice. Yeah, so I had while on parole, I had got out. I was out for 3 months. I had got a job. It was a part-time job. And I was still in transition of wanting to change and not really wanting to change. And I felt like, just I'll make some quick money real quick, right? And I ended up catching another charge. And, it's embarrassing to say that I had got my dad's house raided because I had sold some drugs to somebody at my dad's house. And then I caught another possession charge, which sent me back to prison. I had got like a 4.5-year sentence. That was in 2010. When I had got out, I was around 2010, and then I did 18 months on my 4.5-year sentence. So I've been to prison twice.
So what made you change from being in prison to now, your transformation?
Well, it's a lot of factors that go into that. So just kind of, basically it was just, I was tired. I had got out. Right when I got out, it was interesting because my dad's house had burned down. My dad's house had caught on fire. And when my dad's house caught on fire, he had my stepbrother was living in there too with him, and he passed. And I didn't have no money. I was still trying to figure out what I was doing. I was sleeping on my cousin's couch, and I was like, it's time for a change. I bumped my head so many times, and it was just time to stay out and be there for my family. Got tired of hurting people. Got tired of just not seeing nothing come from my life. And, as a hustler, when you're young, you hustle to win. And also at the same time, it's like, I'm not winning doing this. This ain't making no sense. And I can't even help my dad, which his house burned down. I ain't got no money. I ain't got nothing going for myself. So I just didn't see no value in it. And then I also didn't want to hurt nobody no more. And I also was tired of hurting my family. And it was just time for me to grow up and look out for my people instead of hurt my people. It was also, I always been a man of faith. I always been a believer, in God and stuff. So thank God was just talking to me, and he was like, man, I done showed you so much favor. It's time for you to get right. And one thing that's been a big help in that is, me working out. I working out was something that I would always do at the beginning. I came home, I didn't have a car, I didn't have a house. Like I said, I couldn't even help my dad fix his house after he done lost everything he had. And So I would just walk to the gym, go work out anytime.
You was out of shape?
Yes, when I was doing my time, I had already lost quite a bit of weight from doing push-ups, working out in prison. But I was still probably like 190. But I used to be about 240, 235. Yeah, so I had lost a lot of that weight from being locked up and just changing up my diet in jail, you know, leaving the pork alone and a lot of stuff and just watching what I eat. And yeah, so fitness been one of the biggest things that helped me transition my life to where I am today. Because even though I've been changing since 2012, I still was struggling throughout them years, and working out was always the therapy that helped me get back focused anytime I wanted to go left. Because it's not like the first few years out of jail, the first 2-3 years out of jail, I was just doing the right thing all the time. So the fitness and everything just been one of the biggest things that has helped me be who I am today.
What was your like motivation, inspiration?
My motivation was to break the cycle of my family. You know, it's just I seen, you know, the way I grew up, there wasn't really no set role model. There wasn't really no support system to help me lead me. So my inspiration was just to be that change. My inspiration was just for me to do something different for my life and show people that we ain't got to stay the same, right? You know, it's something better than what we stuck, because a lot of times I feel like a lot of us, people like myself, feel like we stuck and we can't do nothing different. So the inspiration came from the word. You know, the spiritual inspiration came from the word, my faith. There's a couple guys that were real big inspiration to me, like Christian Guzman, Steve Cook, different people from YouTube channels I've been watching. Even though they don't come from my lifestyle, they just been big inspirations, just watching them grow and see them start somewhere and create something. It made me feel like I could do something different in my life.
You still watch motivation videos or what?
Yeah, I watch motivation videos pretty much every day. Watch that, listen to podcasts. I listen to so much information because every day is a battle. You just gotta win that day. So yeah, I keep it in my mind, feed my mind on a regular basis.
What have you learned from all the motivation?
I learned that what I've been learning is the most effective is that it's just basically the way you start your day. You know, when you I've been learning that it's what you feed yourself on a regular basis, what you listen to, what you watch, the people you hang around, the people that, you know, the different vibes, the energy, is you got to keep that good energy around you, and you got to have people around you that are on a different path. If you keep the same people that are that on the same path you always been on, nothing's gonna change. So I learned that you got to go to the drawing board and switch up the game plan to get something different, because if not, everything's gonna stay the same.
So you left Freeport and now you where at?
I just sold my house from Freeport, and it ain't been about 3 months ago. Now I done moved over here by the outskirts of Houston. Yeah, so I sold my house. Trying to think the exact day. I sold my house just like 2 months ago, and about 3 months ago, I sold my house in Freeport. I had bought a house a couple years ago. So I sold it because I was just wanting to get away from my environment. I wanted to start a new chapter in my life, so I moved and just changed the environment, you know, different vibes, different energy. So yeah, now I'm over here, actually Webster, Texas. It's right on the outskirts of Houston. And now I just basically turned to a fitness coach, an online coach, created me a podcast called the Chain Breaker Podcast, which is basically about breaking the chain, breaking the cycle. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now. And moved out of Freeport.
Let's talk about breaking the cycle.
But the breaking the cycle is a very important thing to me, because it's like a lot of times that I feel like my people and people that I know, we got them chains that hold us down from doing something great, from doing something better, or if we feel like we can't change our situation, or we feel like we got to stay the same. So the breaking the cycle for me is to show people that if I could do a change and make a change, that they could change and they could do something different with their life. They ain't got to stay the same. So it's the most important for me, for the people around me, you know, that I live with, you know, like my girl, my daughter, basically just to set that tone for them, to show them, hey, we gonna set a better example. So breaking the cycle for me is just, then also my nephew, nieces, family, everybody, you know, like I said, my pops, he died from drinking too much alcohol, you know, every day. You know, that's something I want to break, you know, because he would be here if he didn't do that. So that's kind of just breaking the cycle is for me, you know, the whole, especially coming from a hustling background. A lot of guys like myself always feel like that's the only lifestyle we could live. We can't do nothing different, but that's not the truth. So, yes, that's kind of where the breaking the cycle thing come from.
What would you tell a 16-year-old, if you go back in time, what would you tell somebody in your position?
I would tell a 16-year-old to follow his path, do what he want to do, to follow his dreams, follow his passion. Don't follow the crowd. Don't get caught up in what everybody else is doing, and to focus on what he really want to do instead of following different people, and just to believe in they self instead of feeling like they can't do something different or feeling like they got to be a product of their environment. That's basically what I would tell them.
What about all the friends they have?
What you mean, like tell their friends?
Like, yeah, if you got all kinds of bad people around you, how are you supposed to change?
Yeah, that's a challenging thing. So I would just tell them to, you know, nowadays you got so much information. You know, back then we didn't have YouTube with motivational, you could go find all these different motivational people or inspirations. So I would just try to tell them to, you know, if they a believer in their faith, getting that good book, find different things to do, watch different things, and just try to separate themselves. I mean,
chain breaker. What's the biggest way to break them chains, to break the cycle?
The biggest way to break the chain is first has to come to believe in yourself, that you are better than your circumstance, to believe that, you know, there's more for you in life than what you think there is. You know, that's basically what I would tell, you know, what I feel.
How do you stay on the right track now?
I stay on the right track by just this year. I had recently just created me like a daily routine. When I get up in the morning, instead of jumping to the phone, I wake up, give thanks for waking up. I listen to some motivation stuff, some kind of like some hardcore motivation, like no excuses, right? I listen to that. And I just look at the bigger picture, right? I look at the bigger picture, and because it's not all about me. You know, I just remind myself it's bigger than me. You know, that's how I keep myself going.
Miss anything? You got some last words?
I just want to say, anybody that listen to this, I appreciate y'all giving the time to listen to this, and I just want people to know that always remember that you could change. You ain't got to stay the same. That's basically what I just want people to realize, that whatever you're going through, you ain't got to stay there. You could get up out of that. That's basically what I have to say.
Where can they find you? What's your podcast and all that?
You could tune in with the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Chainbreaker Podcast with Saul Castillo, or you could check out my Instagram, it's Stay King Fitness, or you can also, my YouTube channel is Saul Castillo Jr., and y'all can tap in with me there.